What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to do something kind of different for Hogwarts Legacy, but I think this is going to be a really fun discussion. I want to talk about if we will be able to make our own spells in this game. Now, I'm not going to just say I just flat out came with this. It actually was from a user named Lassie, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name, okay, because it's way too difficult, but thank you for, and he didn't even ask me the question. They just said, I wonder if we could possibly create our own spells, and I said, you know what? I'm doing it. So, I wanted to look this up. There'll always be the people that say I don't read the books. I've never watched the movie. I've never read the books, and all of that stuff. But I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about here. And so I looked it up on the fandom, the Harry Potter fandom.com, and there is a thing called spell creation. And spell creation is a highly dangerous and mysterious art of creating new spells. And basically they go on to say that pretty much you have to be pretty powerful, not even just powerful, but also smart, also just have an understanding of magic in order to do such a thing. And there's not that many. I mean, there's a list. They provide a list of people that were able to create their own spells. There's spells that could hurt people. There was a levitation spell was obviously, I mean, technically, I assume all spells at some point were created, okay, by somebody. Dumbledore created a spell, communication, using the Patronus charms. Obviously, Tom Riddle, right, Voldemort, he created spells. Snape actually did quite a few different things. Gilderoy Lockhart did stuff. There's quite a few people, some people that we know, some people that were, mentioned here and there, that were able to make spells. So, it's not unheard of, and it's something that I've never once thought of in regards to this game, but it's something we're going to talk about in this video. So, now that we got the opening, let's do the promotion, and we'll keep going from there. As always, if you guys do like this stuff, make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. I try to do a new Hogwarts video every 4 or 5 days on the channel. Final two things. Also, if you guys really like my stuff, I do have a second channel. It's called Podcast Now Plus. I do a daily video over there. It's normally like an entertainment news video, movies, games, etc. Link for that's in the description below if you guys want to check that out. And final thing, keep letting me know your suggestions. I know there's a couple people in the video that I took this one from that did ask about different things. I'm going to get to them. Okay, those are going to be my next couple of videos. So if you guys want to see something specific, let me know. I'll shout you out. We'll talk about the topic, and we'll go from there, okay? All right, so I think there actually is a possibility that this could be in the game. Look, literally the description of our character is like we kind of have these powers we don't really know about, okay? Obviously, they kind of sprung on us. I still assume we are a fifth year. I think a lot of these conversations we have, I'm just always assuming that stuff is true, where you go to Hogwarts late for whatever reason, right? We don't know how your powers, whether it was kind of exploded out of you like Credence, etc. Whatever you want to believe or whatever you want to think is going on, I think that something happens, obviously, that we maybe get our powers later than most people do, okay? So, and we also know, like, we have this ability that can really shape a lot of things. We're going to literally determine the legacy of Hogwarts, whether in a good way or a bad way. So, talked about wands. We've talked about spells in a way in terms of how they may work. I know people ask me questions about that, and I'll do, standalone videos on that stuff. We talked about potions, all that stuff. But again, I've never talked about creating your own spell. I think it would be really, really cool to make your own spell. Now, the difficult part with that is you'd still, and this is the case, and as we talked about with all of these things in the game, you can have the widest possibilities you can think of, right? And by wide, I mean, like, you can think these can go in all of these different ways. And that's the fun part of speculation. That's the fun part of talking about this before we really know, I would say, next to anything about this game, is we really don't know all that much about the game, okay? And once we see the game, once we understand the mechanics and the systems that they have in the game, a lot of the stuff that we've thought could be in the game, potentially, is literally just going to disappear, okay? That's just what's going to happen. The thing with this is, if you're making your own spell, well, that means it's like a system in the game, which means technically you're not creating your own spell. It's spells that are kind of predetermined by the game itself. So you're not going to say, oh, I have this amazing idea to make this. And I'm a big water guy. I love water parks. I love water in general. I don't drink it as much as I should, but I adore the idea. Any game, any movie that has water in it, I'm all over it, okay? Maybe it's why Pirates of the Caribbean is my favorite franchise. But if there's like a water spell, I'm like, I really want to be able to do this thing with water that is not in the game. And that's another thing, too, is that not every spell in existence in the Wizarding world is going to be in this game. So to come up with a quote-unquote spell it's actually kind of different than making a spell out of thin air, because technically you could just be doing a spell that's not even in the game. Also, some of these spells may not be invented yet. So the communicating with your Patronus's thing to steal from Dumbledore's, well, Dumbledore may not even be around at the time. He may not even be born yet at the time of this game. So clearly, Tom Riddle, same thing. A lot of these things can't even exist yet because they haven't happened, right? So those are things that I would say you got to keep in mind as well. But I think it is, well, I guess going into like how it would work, I've been playing a lot of Persona, okay? Maybe you guys know the franchise Persona. So I'm just about done with Persona 5. I have tears in my eyes because I don't want to say goodbye to these characters. And one of the things that I like when I think of mechanics in certain games, I immediately think of Persona just because I've played like 80 hours of it. You can fuse personas in the game to create brand new ones, okay? And some of the brand new ones that you fuse, you can only get by fusion. You can't actually catch them basically in the wild like a Pokemon, okay? You have to actually fuse 2 different ones to get that one. So you have to sometimes level up your relationship status with certain people to get more XP, all this different stuff, okay? I think they could honestly do something very similar with Hogwarts Legacy, where it's like maybe you have, and I don't know how you would do it, like you have multiple spells and you're able to kind of combine them into one. They could go so far to say like, okay, you have these spells at your disposal. If you want to fuse them into this new spell, you will lose the 2 you were already using. You could do that. It would be tough because it's different than Persona. Persona is constantly moving forward, right? And they're like the Personas are always gaining levels, and you can find ones that have similar abilities to what you used to have. So everything's moving up. For the Wizarding World, you know, if you have, I don't know, like pick a spell. Pick an unlocking spell. You may need that the entire game. So if you sacrifice that spell, if you fuse it with another spell to get a cool, different, like new one, well, you may lose. Did you lose the unlocking spell, like for the entire game? Can the new spell also do unlocks? Can unlock doors and stuff, and do whatever the new thing is? You see what I mean? So it is a little difficult. I guess you could also do it where maybe, again, going kind of the Persona route, maybe there's like knowledge in Hogwarts Legacy where if you study enough, or if you go, and we've talked about classes, right? How literal, like going to lessons, going to classes in school. Maybe if you learn enough, I know I talked about like, maybe if you go to enough potion classes, you'll be able to make potions faster than somebody who doesn't, who maybe skips classes, right? You could do the same thing with a class that's maybe just built on like lore or just learning about spell. Maybe there's like a spell class, right? And if you go to that class enough, then maybe you're able to experiment and make your own stuff. I mean, it's a really interesting thing because I think you could do something there. Again, the only limitation is they're not new. They're not like original in your mind. I mean, you could maybe think of one. Like again, so I wanna be able to do this blank thing with water. Well, I can come up with that all I want, but in the game, maybe in terms of like a water branch of spells, maybe there's one spell that you can like create. You can fuse or you can make your own, but it's that one. And I mean, there's not a lot of changes you can make with that. You know what I mean? So it is one that I think is limited, but look, as I keep saying, it's not a case of they don't know these things exist. It's not a case of like, you know, like that. Actually, there's no other way of saying it. I don't believe that. So we've talked about it with Patronuses, with all of these different things. If they're not in the game, I would hope that it's not because the people that are working on it don't know that it exists. I think it's just that the mechanics, the systems in place, it's not what they're going for with the certain game, you know, with the game, that kind of stuff. So if they don't let us create our own spells, I don't think it's that they don't know that you could do that in the Wizarding World. I just think that maybe it doesn't work. And to be honest with you, I've tried to create kind of situations in which a lot of my discussion ideas, the things that come up with, I've tried to make them work in the world, and you guys have done it too. When we talked about shopping and stuff and how money works, you guys came up with some awesome ideas too. We've all tried to make it work. This one's a lot tougher because all I can really think about is fusion. Maybe if you fuse, and I don't even know if you could do. I don't think that's a real thing. I'm trying to just literally putting Persona into this game, kind of because I want to, right? I don't know if you can actually do that in the Wizarding World. Or you can maybe just be so smart. But yet again, I mean, you are so powerful. You are a powerful person. So maybe it is possible that at certain points in the game, you will do a spell or you'll do an ability that like nobody has ever seen before, and then that's you know what I mean? So I think it's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't say it's like high up there on my list of like how good I feel that these things would appear in the game, but I do think it's possible. So as always, you guys come up with some phenomenal ideas of how to get this to work. And you guys did it for the money thing, how money or maybe points could work. So let me know here how, if you were tasked with making or allowing us to make our own spells in this game, how would you do it? What would you do? Let me know in the comments below. As always, again, make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turn on, all that good stuff. Second channel, links in the description below. We'd greatly appreciate it if you guys subscribed over there as well as here. Obviously, here is probably the most important thing, right? New video every 5 or so days. You guys absolutely rock. I know I don't say it enough. I really should say it more. You guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for all of your support with all these Hogwarts Legacy videos. And I hope to see you all on the next one.